So, hello everyone. Um, we are going to create a new application in Mentis that's called CSL, Community Service Learning. Um, I hope you can follow my speak because I know that my speak is not perfect. So, if you have any question after this demo, just send me the questions or your inquiries to my emails. I will try to address it as soon as possible. Um, all right, let's get started. So the first thing that you need to create in Mentis is to create a new record in our application table. So when you go to our application table, you're gonna see the list of applications already there. So we're going to insert a new record in here, which is the ID is 21. You have to remember this ID because we're going to later use it to set up the new application in our Mentis framework. The name column, we call it CSL. This is a very important one. This have to be in lowercase, and this name will be used to form the URL so that you have to make it compatible to the URL. The full name is how it's gonna appear. The namespace is we define in our code. Every class belong to this application will have the prefix as CSL, C in capitalized. Description is something described by your application, and then you have is visible, meaning that if your application is will be show up in the list of application or not. Priority is the order of your application in the application list. Don't worry about the data retention period. We're not going to use it for now. So the thing that you're going to carry out from this record is the ID is 21, name is CSL in lowercase, and then the namespace CSLC in capitalized. Now let's go back to the code, and we're going to create new folders in our apps folder. Let's create a new one called CSL, and make sure that whatever the names that you enter in the application table, you have to use it the same over here. Alright, now we're going to create several more folder. The next one is going to be controller, where we're going to store all of our controller, and another folder called models. Folders under our application is going to be in all in lowercase, and it's in the plural form. Inside the model, we will need another folder called entity, which will store all of our entities in here. So I assume that you're already familiar with the concept of model and entity, but I just want to recap it a little bit. So model, you can think it as a tables in our database, and entity is each rows in that table. So but really the model is meant for the data layers and whatever the business logic will be put in here. Don't put your business logic in the controller, because you're gonna run into a problem that in the future when you change your URL or something, then you have to change again your action. You have to carry all the code that you write in the controller action to that new action. The controller is good only for authorization, authentication, control flow. So put all of your logic into model and entity. Okay, now the next step is going to be we're going to create a new PHP class, which is called bootstrap. So I already have that bootstrap, so I just simply copy it in here to save time. Now so I copy it in here. Okay, now what is bootstrap? Bootstrap is the first class that will get executed during the flow of Mentis application, and so that when you look at this bootstrap, it's just very simple. It's a CSL bootstrap. Remember the namespace, and the name of that is bootstrap. extend from Mentis application model bootstrap is already have all the methods needed for the flow of Mentis to trigger your application. The other thing that you need to change in here is to provide the application ID is 21. So as we defined it in our in our database. So good. Now bootstrap is done. Now go next to our um, access control list. So in our application we have a class called ACL, which is an abbreviation for access control list. It is a central class that defines all of the check-in for permission, authorization, everything regarding permission is have to be in our ACL. So this access control list, remember, it's begin with the CSL namespace, and then it extends from Mentis ACL, which is we already have some of the function in our Mentis ACL. So the main function in here is the function allowed. It takes 3 parameters: the actor, the action, and resource. Basically, it's gonna answer the question that if the actor can perform the action in a particular resource. So when the user log into, if the user already logged into Mentis, the actor will be set to not null, and this will carry the actor or actual user objects. Whereas if the user did not log into the system yet, then the actor will be null. So assume that in our CSL application, only the login user can access to all the action. Now I have the first check, which is if the actor is empty, meaning that the user did not log in yet. So I'm gonna throw exception, then ACL exception, and with the null message, and I'm gonna send it with a 401, which is unauthenticated HTTP code. And from the client side, when it see the 401, it's gonna pop up the login dialog for the user to enter the username, password, and login. All right. So next step is going to be we define the permission for each action in our CS application. So the check over here to ensure that we are checking for the action, right? So the first thing is that we're going to check if we're going to do a switch case on the controller, and now the controller is index. With index controller, we check for the action of that. If that is index, then that's okay. The login user can access to the index page. Of course, more action later we can add it here, and more controller can be added here. All right, that's good for the ACL. Now the next step, we're gonna be creating several abstract class for our application. It is not needed, but it's always good to have the abstract class in your application. By abstract class, I mean controller abstract, model abstract, and entity abstract. So let's go back to our folder structures, and we're gonna have a controllers over here. I already create the abstract class, so I'm gonna copy it over. So we have abstract controller. For now, the abstract controller doesn't do anything. It basically just extend from Mentis controller abstract, and it doesn't have anything inside. But later we're gonna add more logic in here. The other thing is that we need to create a model abstract. So I'm also already have the models over here. So I'm gonna just copy it over. Model, and in here we have a very important function. So member has, what is the errors over here? Member has protected access. What is that? Okay. Okay, it's already have the name, which is, we just find out what exactly what it means. All right, so let me go back over here, and okay, that's fine. I think it's somehow the PHP storm show me some weird error, but that's fine. Let's continue. So we have CS model abstract, and we make it extend Mentis model abstract, and we have one function called set of tables name. This is very important. If you wanna, this function is needed if you want to have if you want Mentis framework to find out to use the class name, a part of the class name or the model to be the table's name. For example, if you have a table called project, so and then you name your class, it's going to be CSL model projects, then Mentis we're going to do and we didn't set a name for that, so if we check for if the model name is empty and it's begin with CSL model underscore model underscore, then we're going to replace that one with our CSL, so it's become, say if the class name is project is CSL underscore model underscore project, then is the table's name associated with that is going to be CSL projects in our database. That's good. Now the next one, we are going to create the entity abstract. All right, so let's go there, create entity abstract. Okay, now I think something is weird with this one. Okay, now that's okay again. Okay, now go to the entity abstract. There's no things in here, but in the future we have anything, particularly for a CSL, we can always do it here. Alright, so next one is we're going to create one controller, which is our index controller. You remember in our ACL we already set up the check-in for index controller, so when the user access to the CSS/index/index, we're gonna return true. Alright, so let's copy that controller over to let me move it over here. Alright, so index controller inherit from CSL controller abstract, as you can see over here, and so in here have one index action. It's simply just return. Now let's just return one message, and we're gonna send back a message as simply just the setup is correct. Simply click that. Now then we send it to the client side using JSON. Now the server code is done. Now go back to the client code. We will need to create a folder called CSL in our public Mentis, and then of a folder for your application. So the public is the root of the client code. So all the application will be placed under Mentis folder. So let me create a new one, directory CSL, and remember that the name of the folder have to be the same with the server side. Now we need to create several more folder, including collections, models, collection at the client side. Eventually you can see it will be equivalent to the model at the server side, and the model at the client side is equivalent to the entity at the server side. So keep that in mind. We need to create one more folder, which is say I'm gonna create a folder called pages. Right, so pages is where you're gonna put all of your page in it. In other words, when you go to a particular link, Mentis framework at the client side is gonna load the page, JavaScript for that page and run it. So you need to have all of your page in here. Now we need to create another folder called index for our controller. So since we're gonna go into develop, going to allow the user to access to CSS/index/index, we need to create a folder, or the name of the folder should be the same as the controller names at the server side. So we have index, and then we will create a file, a JavaScript file called index. And since I already have that once over here, I've been preparing for it, so I'm gonna just copy it over too. Now the pages I'm gonna have is the index page. I'm gonna explain to you right now what is there in the index.js. So if you're not familiar with Mentis application at the client side, you need to basically go back and read the application file, this one, to make sure that you understand everything. If you have any question or you have any doubt or unclear about anything, we can set up another meeting for that. So in here we have several functions. So this is a structure, basic structure of that. The first thing is you follow the required JS if you're not familiar with that. So this is this, you define a new modules, and this tell the compiler in the browser that I'm gonna use the subset of the language, the JavaScript language is stricter, is will not have some crazy problem. So use strict have to be there in every function. Now we include several files, including application, toolbars, and breakroom. We're going to talk about that later. So the next step is going to be create the application. We extend it. So since JavaScript does not have the it is not the strict language or type language. So in that, and it does not have a lot of capability of a object language. So in that case, have some tool for you to inherit some from a parent class. So in here we create a new class called apps, and then whenever you see app.prototype, meaning that you're gonna define an instant function. So in this case we define the initialize. This have to be defined in this case. Function gonna take function initialize take one parameters called options, which are the option that the Mentis framework gonna pass in when it's execute this application. Also, whatever the server send back, whatever the information that the server send back to you, it will reside in this option. This is the way that you're gonna call the method from its parent. So basically this will be equivalent to, it will be the same as you call super, which is my parent, then initialize option. This is how we call it in our object, like say in Java. But in JavaScript you cannot do that. You have to call it like this. Simply like that. After you call everything in it, you're gonna see the sum of the option, sum of the member of the option parameters will be copied over to the instant application. So the next function is going to be we create a toolbar, right? We create a toolbar. Simply just have a function over here. We're going to talk about toolbar as event or later. So basically that you're going to form a toolbar event, and you're going to set the type of that is set, meaning that you're going to ask the Mentis framework to create a toolbar for you or change the toolbar for you. So in here you need two buttons, help and print, and you're going to dispatch this event. We already have the setup when you dispatch an event from your application, which is the toolbar event. Then we're going to redraw the toolbar for you, and when the user click on one of the buttons, which is the help or print, the function toolbar click handler will be called, will pass you the buttons and what is the value. Value is the model that you already set it over here, or whatever the you specify in here will be passed back to you as a value. Currently that we don't implement anything on the click handler or the button, but later we will. Now the next step is going to create a breakroom. You remember the breadcrumbs is the controls. Let me show you the breadcrumb, what I mean by the breadcrumbs on Mentis framework. So if you go to Mentis, in here you're gonna see this one is a breadcrumb, or let me go to some of the application. You see this is a break room. I go to this one. This will also be a break room, right? So each elements in here you're gonna define, and each button is appear here when you define it too. All right, so let's go back to our code, and here is the break room you define. And in this case, just for the index page, I just define one item only, which is community service learning, and then the URL for that, the hash for that had to begin with the hash character and the CSL index. Now that's good. Now the function render is the function the function that take care of rendering your page to the user. So your page, meaning that the Mentis is going to take care of the header bar, the breadcrumbs, and the toolbar and the footer. Your application have a chance to modify whatever inside from this bar later. So the render function is the function that you will decide how you want to send, how you will render the your application or your page. You remember that from the server side, from index controller, we're gonna send back the message the setup is correct, and from the client side, after we call initialize from its parent, everything, some of program that will be copied over, including whatever this is sent back from whatever the server return. Then in here you simply just say this append this option.message, and if we can see the if we go to CSL/index and we see the setup is correct message, then meaning that everything is fine. All right, let's go there and see. Go to our apps, see if our app is already up here. Go to I'm gonna just disable this one a little bit. Go to CSL index, and I guess there's maybe problem already. So let me open the console, see what's going on, and over here let's refresh, see what's going on over here. Okay, this is a specific setup at UTA that it did not automatically push my application to the server, so I'm gonna upload it one more time to the server. All right, let us refresh. Let's refresh and see what's going on. All right, so we see the setup is correct. Now the other thing that you may want to take a look is, go to your console, and this is very helpful for you to know what is going on. So you will have to find, there's several links that is gonna several times it's gonna go back to the server and ask for the server information. So you can find it over here. One of the requests, which is sent to the server, and it's go to the index Mentis CSL index, and the hash is going to be index, and this, you remember that we create a controller called index, and in the index, that controller, the first thing the request is going to go through is going to push all the bootstrap and everything, and then in here it's going to go to the ACL, and since we already logged in this patch to this one, and it's going to go through also the index controller is going here. Say in here, if you don't return true, and say if you disable this, let's disable this case, switch case, let's see what happened. So since you don't return anything, right, and then when you refresh this again, you're gonna see the message that show you don't have permission to perform this action. So everything have to have a rule to check in ACL before it can reach to the controller. That way we will ensure that everything will be checked, so that we don't have any loophole in our securities. All right, now good. So now let's go back and say we send the message with change the message over here to say the times at the server side. So say we get this is new, say right, and then we send it back to the client side and refresh. refresh over here, and now we should be able to see the timestamp on the server side. All right, good. All right. Okay, so that is it for how to set up an application under Mentis. Now I'm going to stop here, and I will create um, another tutorial for you to basically create a listing page and CRUD.